Good day all. This is Chris Coney speaking. This is the Cryptoverse Live. The Cryptoverse is your regular dose of news and commentary on Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, and blockchains. Although today, rather than the pre-scripted, pre-made, pre-packaged, artificial, yada 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 version of the Cryptoverse, I thought I want to do a more casual one today because I've been kind of in a, what did I call it? I called it a stress mess when I described it to Ron this morning actually. So when you get full of chaos, something's got to give. And in this case, it's the regimented version of the Cryptoverse. So instead, what I'm going to do is, instead of the three-part thing where I like research the hell out of the market and then write a bunch of notes and then record the thing and upload the thing and all that, I'm just going to actually live stream the version of me browsing the headlines, picking out the good ones, and then commenting on them in real time, because that's going to be far less stress for me and kind of an experimental format anyway. So hope you'll come along for the ride there. Looks like the stream's working just fine, so let's get into it. Oh, look here, people in the chat already. There we go, lovely. So let's have a look what we've got. Let's have a look. Now, am I going to monitor all this? I haven't really thought about it, but anyway, here's the first note I want to make for the day. It's going to try and chroma key my thingy, isn't it? You know, so here's CoinMarketCap, right? And we've now got 3 Bitcoins in the top 5. I think this is ridiculous. I don't know there's nothing really we can do about it, but you see here we've got a Bitcoin Gold, and then we've got a Bitcoin Cash at rank number 3, and then we've got a Bitcoin at rank number 1. I mean, look at that. I think that just looks ridiculous to me. So that's just one random thought that I had this morning. In terms of actual market movements, if you look at OCFX here, look at this. On the left, you've got the top gainers, and the top gainers are like double-digit gainers. You know, anywhere from 18% gain to a 44% gain. And the biggest losers are only 2 or 3 or 4%. So that's how much the market is booming right now. It's way out of balance to the upside, and that's always nice. It's always nice. It's that question of how sustainable is the rally. Well, if you're using an old financial paradigm, then of course you would think that it was unsustainable. But we are in uncharted territory as far as network effects go, right? And I'm reading this book actually. Let's see if I can find the book. Let me just log into my Audible account here because I bought it the other day. And it was specifically to get my head around these massive price movements and trying to change my beliefs about how this is even possible. So here it is. Yeah, check this out. So this is the book I'm reading, if you like, listening to right now on Audible. It's called Platform Revolution: How Networked Markets Are Transforming the Economy and How to Make Them Work for You. So it was talking about like one specific example where Uber was valued by some traditional economist at X billion dollars, and then someone who was an expert in network effects recalculated it and said it should be like 4 or 5 times the valuation, because you know the value of the network it increases exponentially with the number of users, like the telephone, right? The best salesman in the world was the guy that sold the first telephone because there was no one to ring. And then once you've got 2 people with a telephone, well, they've only got 1 connection in the network, right? They can only call 1 other person. But every time you add a 3rd person, 4th person, 5th person, the number of connections increases exponentially and the value of the network increases exponentially. So why does that matter? Well, it means that with Bitcoin and networked money, it's not just the businesses that can go viral and have network economics. It's now the money itself that can go viral, right? It's kind of insane that money can now go viral. That's the way I thought about it in my head. So that's in my mind how Bitcoin can continually make new all-time highs and it not necessarily be a bubble. You know what I'm saying? Having said that, here is the Bitcoin chart for the day. We are tickling $10,000. 9,843 on Bitfinex as we speak. So let me put my favorites on here because I've got a few charts that I follow. Excuse me. If we're objective about this, you can see, look at my moving averages. If I just And I can't clean it up, it'll get rid of all my indicators. But I've drawn a horizontal white line here at 8,000, which was the previous psychologically significant number. But you can see based on where the price is and where the 50-day moving average is and the 200-day moving average, it just looks overextended to me. What I would have expected, you see when we had this pullback to the 50-day moving average right there, and then it took off again, this consolidation around 8,000, I thought, excuse me, I don't know why I'm choking right now, I thought we were going to see this as a pullback to like the 50-day moving average before taking off again, because we've got the price cyclicity going on. But instead, it took off again in another rally. So it is inevitable. There is always a pullback. No matter how meteoric the rise seems to be, there has to be at least a correction where traders take profit. Because the further up it goes, the more of an incentive there is to take big profits, right? Excuse me. And now the garbage removal, whatever you call them, what do you call them in America? I don't know. But the people emptying the bins are here with a big truck. So that's going to be great, isn't it? A lot of people talk about ethos. I mean, I know Superman's into it. What was it called before? Bitcoins. That was his big thing, wasn't it? Bitcoins, and he made a ton of videos about that. But now, what you got here? Ethos is the rebranded version, isn't it? So we'll see. I don't know. I haven't looked into it, but that's not really what this is for. I want to go look at the news headlines and stuff. What I'll take you through the whole process that I use in the morning. I go to OCFX, I go to Coinigy, I take a look on BTC.com, because what I want to see is just a quick glance at the most recent block times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 blocks in the last hour, nearly 7. So that's working all right. Average of 6 blocks an hour. Then I look at the unconfirmed transaction pool to see how big this is. 80 megabytes, pretty big. So that gives me a sense of how much backlog there is on the Bitcoin network. And I just look at this for like 10 seconds, look at the current transaction fee. Then where do I go next? Then I go have a quick look at the old Segwit chart. I want to see what percentage of transactions are using Segwit. Well, still just over 10%. And not really climbing much. Like if you look since activation, it was going up massively. This is since Segwit activated. We reached a peak of around 18% up here, and then it dropped off again. I'm not quite sure why that happened, but it's still pretty flat. I thought once Segwit activated, we'd see a nice trend, a consecutive, consistent, sequential trend all the way up to, I don't know, 80 or 90 or even 100% of Bitcoin transactions using Segwit, but hasn't happened. Crazy stuff. Then I look at, what's it called? Coindance. I want to see similar performance for the Bitcoin Cash network. So again, I just glance at the numbers. Bitcoin Cash is currently 15% of the original difficulty. It's currently 2% more profitable to mine on the regular Bitcoin chain. Then I look at the Bitcoin Cash block times. So taking a little bit of time here. In the last hour, there's only been 3 Bitcoin Cash blocks. But the previous hour, there's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So mining a bit quickly on the Bitcoin Cash chain. Then I have a quick look at the fork.lol site. Again, to look at some comparable numbers on Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash. Have a look at the mining power and how it's split. You'll see since Bitcoin Cash forked and upgraded its mining difficulty algorithm, it's flattened out a lot. These big humps that we used to see, that was actually there, that where it crossed over. That was where the actual upgrade was. And then I look at how many transactions are happening on each of the networks, because if Bitcoin Cash isn't getting used, then that's something to take into account. Bitcoin pretty consistent between, 2 to 5,000 transactions per hour, I assume, something like that. I think you can do 10,000 transactions an hour at 3 transactions per second. Don't quote me on that. But I'd just like to have a quick look at those kind of stats before getting into the news. I have a little news pool that I've mentioned before. One of the news stories I haven't yet got around to talking about, which is now getting a bit old, is this one about confidential transactions. I did mention this on the show. In this confidential transaction thing, I think I watched a presentation by Greg Maxwell, who presented at Coinbase, talking about confidential transactions and how Bitcoin Core were working on developing these, right? So this article was from when was this? The 16th of November. So it's a 10 or it's 12 days old now, but I haven't just found a slot for it on the show. But CT, as they term it, in previous testing, CT, confidential transactions, has been 16 times the size of normal transactions. So that's a slight problem. It's one of the criticisms of what's the Zcash. The transactions are so big, they take a long time to process. Same with Monero. Those confidential transactions take a little bit of time to process. So there's a trade-off there with confidential transactions. But if you could bring confidential transactions to Bitcoin and Litecoin, then that would be a good thing, and bring Bitcoin and Litecoin in a within competitive range of things like Monero and so on. What else have I got in the news pool? Someone's asked me to do a video on cryptocurrency tax implications in the UK, which I need to make. Rumors about Mt. Gox relaunching. You probably heard about those. What else have we got here? So there's another video people want me to make about my Ether wallet and how to use it with the Ledger Nano S. Pretty good. Then one of my patrons told me about this thing, which is Lockchain, hotel booking and vacation rental market with a marketplace with 0% commissions. So this sounds like booking.com, but on the blockchain. So this is kind of interesting. I'm not sure what this big mess in the background is. It's a big kind of ball of fabric. I'm not sure what the hell that means, but I thought it was a kind of interesting idea. You've got all the booking.coms and Expedias and the yada yada, which is a middleman taking commission from an industry, so that's ripe for a blockchain, and it's called Lockchain. It looks like a typo. Lockchain. 0% commission on hotel bookings and vacation rentals. That sounds like an Airbnb disruptor, doesn't it? So if you want to look into that, you can look into that. The net neutrality thing has been pretty hot lately. So what I think is going to happen is sales of virtual private networks is going to boom. I personally am using this one, privateinternetaccess.com, at the moment. And you can actually go to their site and it'll do a scan on your computer to see if you're well protected, right? And right now I'm using private internet access. So it's gone green up the top here because it's not really my IP address and stuff like that. But I highly recommend this. It's real good. You can get it on your phone as well. So I do run that on my phone and on my computer. There's also other things like, there's loads of blockchains that can help us with this net neutrality thing. There's, I think Substratum was doing really well in the markets yesterday. You've got the blockchain-based VPNs like, what the hell was that one called? Mysterium Network. That was one of the first ones I heard about. I wonder what they're up to. Mysterium Network. Mysterium board game? No. Blockchain. Actually, it wasn't a blockchain, was it? Mysterium was an Ethereum-based app. Here we go. Look. Mysterium VPN. The thing is, they did their token sale ages ago. Never mind my phone going off there. Yeah, the token sale was a while ago. I seem to remember talking to this guy. Did I interview him? I can't even remember if I did an interview with him. In any case, let's look at the timeline here. Founded in 2016. Did the first token sale the 30th of May. April, May, yeah. Token sale 2 coming up. 2019. Interesting. So they've got stage 1, 2, and 3, the cell, the multi-cell, the complete decentralization. What's that little plus thing do? We are here. Okay, still working on it. There is a thing in the menu here that says MVP. What does that mean? I know it stands for minimum viable product. But what's this? Is this a marketplace of available nodes? I might have to look at this. It says the testing phase is over. At this point, we have enough data for further development. Okay, so they don't really have an MVP at all, do they? It was a test that is now finished. But those kinds of things will help us with net neutrality. There's this other thing, question of, will cryptocurrencies rise or fall during the next financial crisis? Most people seem to think they're going to rise. However, let me look at this. I found this article on the Cointelegraph. This is the kind of article I'm talking about. As people, start to get worried about the next financial crisis getting closer, these kinds of articles come out. This one's called "Bitcoin will be a safe haven during the next stock market crash, says expert. Well, there's two lines of logic you could take here. One is that people will run to cryptocurrencies as a safe haven. So that will be on the buy side, right? So they'll be selling their old assets and then buying crypto with it. However, what will happen on the other side is if the velocity of money slows down, if the economy slows down, that means companies will spend less, they'll, reduce their staff sizes. That will mean people will lose their salaries, they will spend less. The companies they spend less with will also have a decline in sales. They'll cut staff. They'll have less money to spend, and there's the downward economic spiral, right? Now, if someone's in a pinch and they can't pay their rent or whatever, they may well sell some of their most valuable assets to pay the bills. And if they've made 1,000% on some cryptocurrency, well, they may have to sell some of that cryptocurrency in order to live, right? If the economy really tanks, then you might have to sell some crypto to pay the bills. Now, that's the other side of it. That'll put a big sell pressure on cryptocurrencies, which could cause the financial crisis to have a knock-on effect and cause cryptocurrencies to go down. So that's the other side of the argument. You know what I mean? The question is, what's the balance going to end up being? I honestly don't know. There is no way to know, which is why diversifying is actually the key, because that way you don't have to predict which way it's going to go, do you? You know what I'm saying? So let's see what's happening in the chat today. People are asking, what we got here, Envion. I've not finished researching that. Not much going on in here, just general chit chat. But let's have a look at, to spend 2 more minutes on this and then I'll be out because I don't want this recording to be too long. Let's look at the actual news headlines. All I did with there was go through the articles that I had in my news pool. But let's see what's in the news headlines today. Reddit's usually a good place to look for some breaking news. Sometimes there's bugger all on here, but sometimes you find an odd gem. Ethereum breaches 600,000 transactions in a day, I assume. It's always interesting to look at which subreddit these comments are being posted on. Can we get the official Bitcoin talk updated? No. EOS broke $3. This is on the approach to the testnet. EOS did break $3. Check this. Boom. Well, it did break $3. It's now $2.88. What else we got here? There's one of my videos. Boring, boring, boring. Where to get Ethereum Classic. Let's see what else we got here. Boring. Bitfinex employee admits that tethers are not actually backed by US dollars. Yes, I did see that thread, but take that with a pinch of salt. I hadn't really looked into that too much yet. More complaints about Coinbase. Yep, you always see one of those on Reddit, don't you? Closing too many accounts relies to Coinbase. Funds are gone, Coinbase. Ethereum Classic price is up. Well, I think it is up. It's one of the big gainers of the day. Ethereum Classic up 38% on the day. Pretty good. Someone would like to start a discussion about Dash Aerosports. Yes, what was interesting about that is that it got funded the first time round, didn't it? But I think it's going to fail the second time round, which is kind of interesting. So this is dashvotetracker.com. Aero, there you go, look. So this guy originally put his proposal into the Dash network to rebrand his air racing team to Dash Racing. And it got funded, he did it. His suit, his plane, the whole 9 yards. And now he's putting another proposal to renew, I suppose. But the proposal is for $849,000, as you can see right there. And at the moment, it doesn't have enough votes to pass. And in 2 days' time, as you can see here, that's when the next Dash Treasury proposal budget will pay out. This is a challenge, because imagine if you were this guy and you'd received the first lot of money, you'd rebranded your entire racing team to Dash Racing, and then your funding wasn't renewed. This is, I suppose, the downside of the Dash Treasury system. The the freelancers and the people who do work for the Dash network, they have no certainty of continuity. And what started happening more and more with Dash is the multi-month proposals, whereas I want like 100 Dash a month for 3 months or whatever, they are being discouraged now. And what's encouraged is for you to put a proposal in on a monthly basis, so that you don't say, I want, what is today $10,000 worth of Dash. Dash goes up massively, and then months 2 and 3 are like 3 or 4 times the price, relatively speaking. It's the same number of Dash, but the Dash network in dollars is paying a lot more for it, you know what I'm saying? So I do feel for that guy, because now what's he going to do? If he's rebranded his whole racing team and was banking on that funding to continue his racing team, I don't know what to say about that. It's just unfortunate. I do feel for the guy. Well, unfortunately, that's the nature of that marketplace, isn't it? What else is on Reddit? We saw the Roger Ver apology. Did you see that? Takes a big man. Credit where credit is due. So this is the video Roger Ver posted right after he had a debate and kind of lost his cool and started attacking his fellow debater personally. And then he put out this 3-minute apology saying, well, the guy pushed my buttons, he triggered me. He kept calling it Bcash, which I asked him not to, and that's what really riled Roger up. So he put out that apology video, and Roger looks terrible in this video. I mean, look at his face. He looks absolutely terrible. It looks like he's been up for like 2 days straight without any sleep or something. So I don't like to see anybody in that state, whether you like Bitcoin Cash or not. I don't like to see people suffer, right? And I think Roger's not evil. I think he's got his heart in the right place. He's clearly passionate about Bitcoin Cash, and he is very passionate. But the downside to that is that when he loses his cool, he did what he did in the debate. So that's the only downside of that. Anyway, I'm going to cut this live stream here, because we've been going 22 minutes now, and we don't want this to go on too long for the people listening to this on the recording. So maybe I'll do another one of these tomorrow and get into the news a bit quicker. But until then, it's me, Chris Coney, saying bye for now.